Vedanta, the theory, what we called as theory, the philosophical method to explain the reality. For that we need to take some methodology, some step to explain. So in that, the foremost explanation sutra is called Adhyaropa Apavada. You might have heard about it. Adhyaropa and Apavada. Adhyaropa means superimposing, and Apavada means denying. So this is one theory. This is very important for Vedanta, and it's a special theory used only in Vedanta. No other philosophers admit this theory. And what it is, the theory is basically using the theory of creation to explain the reality. The theory of creation become a method to explain the reality. So once that is completed, once you know the Adhyaropa and Apavada, if that explanation is completed, then the Ajatavada comes. So you will know there was no creation at all. So when we say there is no creation, here we are not denying the existence. We have to remember this point, because the confusion here is, when we say there is no creation, people say there is no existence. The non-existence is explained there. It seems to be like that. But that is not the truth. It says in Karika, Satohi Mayaya Janma. Satohi Mayaya Janma Yujyate Natu Tattvataha. Sataha, which is the core existence as Brahman. Satohi Mayaya Janma. So when we talk about the creation or something is created in the existence, we can only talk about Maya, or we can explain through Maya. Otherwise it is not possible. So what is the true existence, what we say as the substratum of all the creation, is always there. It is one and the same. So the existence is not denied. So then what is denied? So Mayaya Janma, the creation by this power called Maya, the theory called Maya theory. And that is explained here. So this way, when we understand the theory of Maya, nothing is created, because existence cannot be changed in any form. Existence is always existence. The forms, the names what we experience are not the character of, not the nature of existence. This is the theory of Ajatavada. So, na tattvataha janma, that is what it says. There is no creation in real. So we are not considering the creation as real. The reality only there in existence. The existence is the reality. Now, how to explain it? This is the problem. To explain it, we need different theories in different steps. The whole theory is called Adhyaropa Apavada. But to explain that, to know the Adhyaropa Apavada theory, superimposition and denying theory. We need to know the cause and effect here. That is called Karya Karana Ananyatva. The so-called effect is nothing but the cause. The difference between cause and effect is only in appearance. The difference as we see in effect, it is only appearance of the cause itself. This is the Karya Karana Anyatva. Here one thing is important to know is when we say the effect, the product is not different from the cause, but the cause is different from the effect. This should be understood. We will, by the way, we are going to discuss it elaborately. Now, the effect is nothing but cause, we say. The effect is not different from cause. But the cause is different from effect. It should be. Why? The simple reason is, we know the creation of effect, and the effect is created by some means. While the effect is created, the cause was already there. And when the effect is destroyed, demolished, then also the cause remains. If the cause is not different from effect, cause cannot exist, because once the effect is destroyed, the cause is also gone. But it doesn't. Therefore, because we need cause before the creation of effect. So in that cause, which is the substractum or the existence of the creation, everything takes place in that cause, which invariably will be there before the creation of the effect. It should be there, no? Then only you can create the effect. So this is called Karya Karana Ananyatva. So Karya Karana Ananyatva. It means the effect is not different from the cause, and cause always exists, and the cause is unaffected by the differences, the manifestations and changes in the effect. Then only we can explain how the Brahman as a material cause and efficient cause creates this world and untouched with all these changes whatsoever happening here. So now you see, if the cause is always unaffected by the changes of the effect, then what we could say is, cause is not created. Because creation, when we think about creation, the concept of creation is itself is a change. Without change, we can't say anything is created. So the word itself means the creation means some change is taken place. If that is not there in the cause, we can say the cause is never created, and cause has no changes in itself. So this is the Ajadavada. When you see the effect, if you could see, you could understand, you could grasp, cognize the cause in that effect, you will see the unchanged state of effect, which is cause itself. You got the point? Because the manifestation is manifestation, we know when it is manifested. But the cause is not changing. So when you know the cause, one will himself will declare there was no effect at all. Because you see the cause there. For example, we will take less step for the example, because we have to elaborate the example. What we know from outside, what we grasp, what we perceive, is the form of an object. And the name is remembered, that's all. You can't see the name there. The sound cannot be seen. Sound is sound, so you remember the name if you remember. Otherwise, you see the object. So when you see the object, our process of perception, that the perceiving, the action which is happening with the mind, intellect, ego, and through the sense organs, and with the support of outside things, as we see this as a book. Now this is a perception. We say this is book. What is perceived there is the shape of the book. If you remember the name, your name also perceived. If you know some detail about the book, you know what this book is. So this much is perceived. So this is the knowledge what we have. What the cognition is this. And this tendency of knowing this way is inherent in human beings specially, and normally in other beings. Because we have not learned how to perceive things. We have never learned it, practiced it. It came inherently. Now this is a true point to understand. And if it is coming inherently means, it has a purpose. The purpose is, if you know the object, if you have some connection with the object, that object is going to give you happiness or sorrow or some stimulation in the mind, some sort of change in the mind. So this is called perception. And this is inherent. Inherent, why I am using this word, it is not thought out. It is not from the learning you have. It is not from the outside information you specially gather. It is a natural process. Therefore, in this phenomena, you can't change anything. Because your information is not added there. Your information is not playing a role there. I don't say it is not added. The new information has no role, a special role there. Because naturally everyone knows that. If you put some information, then you know this book is made out of these papers, and this paper is of this quality, and the publisher is so and so, and the subject is so and so, the color is made like this. The other details you may find out. But this details has nothing to do with the perception itself. Perception is just the sight, the reflection what you have. That is gone to the mind. That shape of the object is perceived there. So you know it. Whatever you add into that as your knowledge of that, which you gathered from other means, you by learning and studying and education or whatever, it has no direct connection with the simple perception. Therefore, we as a seekers, people in normal, are unable to change their preconditioned perceptions, even though they know about it. Even though they know about the reality of it. but they are unable to change. This is the problem we are facing now. Now Vedanta gives a permanent solution for this problem. So Vedanta says, you can't change your inherent perception theory, let it be there. But now you try to understand what you are perceiving in reality, the reality of the perceived object. Then, if you able to cognize that special, the reality of that, the existence of that object, then your reality will change, shift into the cause of that object, not in the effect. The benefit, the direct benefit, immediate benefit of that is, if you could do this, the impermanent effect will not disturb you with its creation and changes. And the permanent, comparatively permanent cause will stay in your mind for a long time, so your thought process will be more stable and clear and beneficial. For example, we continue with this book's example. So now we know this book is there. We add, this is my book. This is my book. I am connecting this, and this book is of this size, 4 by 4, 8 by 4, whatever, and the color of the book black. So these are the perception. Now what is there in the book? So we know this is the book of Brahma Sutra. This is the book of Brahma Sutra. So now we know the information. Now, if you see what is permanent in these things, whatever we gather, nothing is permanent, because this book is mine for a while. If I give to somebody else, it will change, and before it was with me, it came to me, it was somebody else honoring that. The honor was somebody else. So now I own this. It's a temporary thing. Color is also comparatively temporary. Everything is temporary. But if you take if you try to understand what is permanent there, the cause of this book would be permanent. It means whatever the form, it's effect, we call it as effect, and what is permanent there, the existence of this object, is the material used to make this book. That is the papers. Papers are made of pulse, the special material made for the paper, and that is made out of the material outside, whatever we get, the trees and all those material used for that, and those are connected to the earth itself, and this goes like this. That is one way. The other way, simply if you use the signs there, these are made out of atoms. If you take for clarity. So now, if you could see the cause of these books as atoms, they are not changing. They are comparatively permanent. And you will be not worried about the changes which are happening there, because you know the atoms are permanent, comparatively permanent. They are not dying. They are only changing their form. If you go to energy, that is, again it is more deeper. So now the person who is understanding this as an atom, the form of atoms, the manifestation of atom in itself, if the scientist understands, sees that. he is not affected with what is happening there. Because he knows that we can't change these things in different forms. Nothing is stable there. So this is the oneness with the cause. Now the effect become cause. Then you see, now what is created there? Atoms are created or the book is created? Created is book, but really there is no creation. Because if you see the atoms there, it is not created. Like the wood we see in the table. So that is what cause and effect theory says. Now, unless you know the cause, another important point of this causal theory is, unless you know the real cause, what we say are the ultimate cause. So, we have ultimate cause and intermediate causes. So, unless you know that, you can't say the effect is uncreated. When you know the cause, then you can declare. Then you can say, oh, this effect is nothing but cause. Therefore, we must know what is Brahman as it is by the Shastras. Because if Brahman is the ultimate cause, if we know that, then the effect is nothing but Brahman. Unless you know that, you will not gain anything by saying and by repeating that this is not created, this is Maya, this is Mithya, this is that. Nothing is going to work. Because you don't know the base of that. Therefore, Shankaracharya says in Brahma Sutra, Anaveditetu Brahmani Brahmajnanam Kuru Prapancha Prapilayam Chaiti Shatakritva Uktobi Brahmajnano Prapancha Prapilayo Vajayeta. He says, Anaveditetu Brahmani. If the Brahman is not known, Brahmajnanam Kuru, you gain the knowledge of Brahman, you get the knowledge of Brahman, practice Brahmajnana. Prapancha Pravilayam Cha. What you see, the scene Prapancha, the scene creation, what is you see is not there. So you change it into Brahman. There is no creation, it is Maya, delusion. Yes, Shatakritva Uktobi. If you say 100 times, it doesn't make any effect. Therefore, the importance stands with the knowing the Brahman. All importance stands with there because you must know the cause. So we were taking the example of, we changed the example to the wood. We see the table. Normally we call it table. The name is there and beautiful form of the table. We get a very correct cognition or direct cognition of this table. Now when we say something about it, we use the word table. And we studied and we know that this table is made out of wood. So now you see the trick here is, the magic here. The person who is giving the reality to the wood, seeing the wood, for him, the table has no reality itself. Because the reality changed into the wood. It doesn't mean that he is not seeing the table. This is wrongly understood in Vedanta. When we speak about the Maya of creation and all this, people think that it's not seen at all. It is not experienced at all, perceived at all. It's not right. Because that is why I brought the first point. The perception is an inherent process. We have nothing to deal with that. Like you have many actions as inherent, that you eat food, you digest it, the body is maintained, and you have fear and so on. There are many things. So now the point here is, when you know this, you yourself can believe, or experience that this is nothing but the cause. The table is nothing but the wood. Now what you are seeing is wood. From the viewpoint of wood, is table is created? No. From the viewpoint of wood, you are seeing the wood, because wood is not created. Wood was there before and now, and after also it would be there. Now, if you go beyond that, because it's an intermediate cause, the direct cause we can say, but it is not ultimate cause. The Vedanta takes you to the ultimate cause, where the science takes now the energy and the material and the quantum and all those. So they are trying to bring the ultimate state of that cause, the potentiality of the creation. So now, if we go beyond this table, the wood, what is wood? We can say the wood is made of gases, or wood is made about some material, like if you take the connection with the earth, it has some material connected to the earth, whatever the hydrogen and all those materials are there connected to the gases. So it is made of gases. Like the earth is made of gases, it is also made of gases. If you know this theory, biologically or in other any form, you know, you will try to see that. Oh, this is of this special gas and special chemical is there in this, so therefore it has this color. You will understand that this color is not real. Because of chemical, this color is seen. Because of chemical, these changes takes place. You know the chemical combination, complexity of this creation. So now your wood changed, shifted into the chemical or gas level. Now you see again there is a magic. If you can perceive that, if you see the chemical in there, or gases in this creation, so you can say that this wood is nothing but the gases of all, what is the compounds of this wood. So you are shifting it. So now you see that is the cause. Now what if any creation other than that? Nothing is created. It's only you change the form. And that is also because of that compound gases or material, whatever it is. And again, if you go beyond that, the energy level of that, or if you take that, and Vedanta says it is from the Prithvi, Jala, Agni, Vayu, Akasha and Atma. This is one theory we have. So this is the cause and effect theory. Yeah.
So, it's very beautifully explained, Swamiji. First, one small clarification. I think you implied it, you even mentioned it once. But I think for my own clarification, I want to bring it out and confirm that when you say the cause is what the effect is, I think that statement is true only when the cause is both the material and the efficient things. Because if the material cause and the efficient cause are different, then at that level we cannot make that statement. Just as you said, the wood also has the cause of a carpenter, the table. And the carpenter and the wood come together to make the table. And so therefore at that level, the cause and effect are different. But when we go to the root cause of both the carpenter and the wood, it is ultimately both energy. And so at that level, cause is the effect. Is that
correct? Yes, I will continue. So what you asked, the difference between cause and effect. There, the efficient cause and the material cause. The theory of cause and effect, oneness, sameness, is based on material cause. In terms of language we say as a material cause. It means the effect is nothing but material cause, and the effect is always exist in material cause or on material cause. That is the theory says. What you said, you put the question correctly. That is in one level. You see the difference between the efficient cause and material cause. Like we see the difference between cause and effect when we discuss in that level, because once we step up or step more deeper into, then there is no connection that we can see. Similarly here, the creator as we see is needed in one level of creation. Like if you want to make a table, you need a carpenter. But if you want to make a wood is not made by any of us. It is natural. Now you see, just in one term, the efficient cause is gone. And if you go beyond that, gases, who made the gases? So there we don't say any efficient cause. As per the science is concerned, we don't say any efficient cause. But in Vedanta, we say we have efficient cause and material cause as Brahman, the same as Brahman. In Brahma Sutra there is Adhikaranam called Prakriti Adhikaranam. The first chapter, 4th Pada, 7th Adhikarana, it is Prakriti Adhikaranam. It says the material cause and the efficient cause, both are the same. Why? Because we want to know the efficient cause, we want to know the material cause. Therefore, we say the same. Brahman as the material cause and efficient cause. So, the point is clear. The efficient cause as the carpenter or the pot maker or whoever making the effect needed in one level, that is we can say the last part of that. And it is amazing to know that the creator who is as efficient cause we see, the material of efficient cause is the same material of the material causes. It means what is there in this book, within this table, the same material is there in this body also. You see, from that level, no? Is the same. The gases or the chemicals or whatever it is there. So now who is the creator? So this is only interchanging. That means we are changing one form to another, and one form is helping to change the another. One form is contributing the change to take place in another. This is only contribution, the support. Like the parents, father and mother, they are not the creator of the progeny, the child. They are only the vessels, or they are the mediators. They are only contributing their support to create that. child. So this way it goes. So here we say, satohi mayaya janma yujyate nadu tattvataha. So now what is sat there? Whatever we see as a cause, whatever we consider as a cause for a particular effect, that is called Sat for the time being. Ultimately the Brahman is Sat. But before that, the effect what we see from this cause, what we consider as a cause. So, Satohi Maya Vidam. Now, if we say the table is created from the wood, the wood is Sat here. Now, if somebody asks why the wood is seen as a table, you can't give any answer. You can only say we connected the pieces of wood and in different shape as we like and all those things. But you can't prove a creation of table there, separated from the wood. You got the point, no? So the creation itself is a misunderstanding or superimposition. For what we say as a connection of some things in different shapes, we call it creation. Or some form to another form as a creation. And some creations are natural, and some creation that what we create from our side, our effort is put there as a contribution for the creation. So this is very important. We are contributing our mind there, or our efficiency there in different levels to create something. So you wanted to ask something?
So when we talk about this notion of perception, which you beautifully brought out, that it is inherent. So we don't make any effort to see the table or the book or anything. So that perception is automatic. It is there in animals also, and we have it at a very enhanced level. But the other perception, the perception of the cause, which you say is the way to see the impermanence of the effect. That perception is not biological the way the perception of the object is biological.
Correct, very correct.
And therefore, one of the problems we face among many who understand this is that the conceptual understanding operates at one level, but the biological understanding is not touched. And therefore, if we take a very simple example, if I have a concept of someone to be an idiot, and because when we talk of perception, there is the perception of material objects, there is also perception of concepts, which especially humans are very good at. So one very practical example, which goes all the way to the root of what you are saying, is that the perception of the word idiot is inherent somehow in us. But the perception of the cause, which is unchanging, is there at a conceptual level. So the man who knows the perception at the conceptual level is still getting hurt by someone calling him idiot. So this dichotomy between the inherent biological understanding and the conceptual understanding, how can it go?
That is the point where Vedanta helps us to go deeper into the understanding. Now, we have two different perceptions. Now, brought out the point correctly. One is which is inherent. It is not only perception. There are so many experiences also which are inherent. There are so many tendencies that is itself is inherent. There are emotions which are inherent. Now you see, this is totally different. So these emotions and perceptions and experiences are disturbing us. If they are disturbing us, if we want to change them and live the life as we want, with the more happiness and with the ultimate happiness and full relaxed life, we want to change all this. This is the one point we should know. So who is ready to change that? Who wants to change those perceptions and experiences? He is eligible for Shastra. He is eligible, he is the seeker. He is the seeker, then the Shastra says about that. Now how you want to change? What you can change? And how you should change? You see, this is the point where we want to know. Now the second perception which we get from Shastras, not only from the Adhyatmic Shastras, Veda, Vedanta and all these philosophies, but also from the Shastras like science. You get many problems solved by science. Now the real problem exists in between this. Now how to change these inherent natural temptations and tendencies with the information we got from the Shastra or science? How to synthesize both of this? How to compare this? How to merge one into another? This is the point where we need to do sadhanas, where we need to do the preconditions of the minds. Because in this point I would say, sadhana is nothing but changing the mind, the preconditioned mind. Sadhana is changing the preconditioned mind. In this point we can say that. Two polarized mind, two thought process which are not coming connected. One pole that is what we informative knowledge, the other pole which we experience. Now we go with the example, same example. We experience the table, or little more if you go, we experience the wood even. But we are not experiencing the atoms there, we are not experiencing the gases there, we are not experiencing the real material cause there. We are unable to experience that. Why? Because the means for the perception, the mind together with mind, is incapable of perceiving it. But we know it. Let it be there. That is one point. The other point is the use of that, the benefit of that object. Because our perception is always with the beneficial side of the perception. It means the usage of it, the practical usage of that. Now, we just think about this. Knowing this as a table, we have some usage. Because we can use the name table and talk about it. Wood is also, of course, we can use for the fire, you can use for many things, make beautiful things out of wood. And the color of the wood is also very attractive. So this is the usage of this. Now you have no problem with this level of understanding that this is wood, this is table, and this is useful for me, this is my table, you are attached and you are hugging it and everything is there. You just see beyond that. If we see the atoms there, what is the use of that atoms, the knowledge of atoms there? No use. It is unperceivable, and if we perceive also through some atomic microscope or something we bring and we try to see it, what is the use of that? It is waste. That knowledge itself is waste. So this is the contradiction. Now, such knowledge which is totally impractical, mind doesn't want to carry those knowledges, and mind doesn't be attracted to those knowledges which are not immediately giving the effect as a sorrow or the pain, or the happiness, any kind of emotions. Nothing is made there. So what is the use of that? Now, your knowledge of atoms as the ultimate cause, the cause of this, it's a waste. What is use? Unless you are not a researcher, unless you are not a scientist in atomic energy and atomic field, that atomic theory of understanding this object is just wasteful. You get the point? Now, this is the point we should again revise in our day-to-day life. Because whatever we try to know should be useful for us, either for the body or for the mind or emotion, anything like that. In any level intellectually, you need fun to get joy in your mind. Something should be made there. And now how we can make the atoms useful for us? Think about that. You know this is ultimately atoms. You are perceiving it as a table. And if we know it is atoms, you know this is permanent. That is permanent. And this is impermanent. All this, you know, you are well versed in all this. But unless there is no, any emotional benefit, emotional in the sense happiness or whatever, the mind is not using it, mind is not taking it, mind is not carrying it. What is that? So you want to know, just know, and after a couple of hours you will forget everything. Like we studied many things in schools and college, we forget everything. What we are using for our life as a job, that is useful for us. And we can't say it's gone. It is there, but we don't care for that. Once you got the PhD, who is caring for the 10th certificate and because you are in different level. Although without that it cannot come. Without atom you can't perceive anything. But now it is not useful. Therefore, Vedanta says, when you know the ultimate cause, you are in full bliss. You will get the maximum happiness you will be able to imagine. So Vedanta is showing the maximum effect there, emotional benefit. Now science is unable to bring that there. Therefore it is waste for us. So when it is connected, therefore the Brahman is bliss. Brahman is existence Brahman is consciousness, Brahman is bliss. So we will talk all the characteristics separately, because that is why I am not going more deep into that, because the ultimate cause, when we bring, why we bring all this, and how we experience that, because Satchidananda is experience. That we will discuss differently. Now we are just making this Ajadavada with the cause and effect theory. So this is, we need to put some emotion in the perceiving process. Therefore, when we learn Vedanta or any subject, the emotion should be there. We say as a Shraddha in any kind of emotion. And who can have this Shraddha? Who is able to bring this emotional part in that? If I feel that if I know this as a Brahman, I will be more happy. I will be the happiest man of the world. Then I will put all my effort to know this. So this is ultimate cause now. If you compare with this, we were talking of this polarization of this knowledge. There's two kinds of knowledge. So now here two are connected. Why? Because what you perceive is what you are enjoying is nothing but the enjoyment of the ultimate cause itself, and the ultimate cause is full of enjoyment. That enjoyment is reflected in the object what you see. You see how beautiful it is? Now, the knowledge of Vedanta is the knowledge of the Vyavahara here. The empirical experience is nothing but the theoretical knowledge of Vedanta. Both are connected. No other subject can do this process. This is the point where science is completely unaware. Science is completely missing this point, because science has no emotional connections with objects. Now, the seeker can accept the object as Brahman, as in the level of ultimate cause, the physical body as the Brahman in that level of ultimate cause, the mind, the himself, but the Atma, the soul and self and everything is one with that, because the ultimate cause is one. That, like just now we discussed about the efficient cause and the material cause. This is a level of understanding. Now for this person who is ready to accept this, believe in that, to carry on that thought process, he is ready to carry on that thought process, will have this relaxation and a realization with this knowledge, because he has put his full emotion there. What we want ultimately, happiness, and that is also undisturbed and eternal. You want happiness forever, undisturbed by any kind of pain and disturbance. So that is there. Once you know this is there. Therefore, even in second level, there is no creation. But to go forward, go further, you need to put your emotion in third level and fourth level. Why? The reason is, after the second level of causation, you have no direct benefit, practical benefit. Like I gave the example of atoms. There you have to put the emotion. Emotion means the happiness or whatever. Then only you can go for further. Why scientists are doing a hard work for research to find out all these things? Because they get some happiness from doing the research, and they get the encouragement from different places, and their mind is applied to the point which the object which they are doing the research. They are not doing the research for the sake of research. Because their emotion is connected there, they are able to do the research there. You got the point? Why I am saying? Therefore, the ultimate realization brings the ultimate benefit for us. And it should bring, it must bring. If it cannot, we will not go for the ultimate level of anything if it cannot bring any effect for us, if it cannot give any benefit for us. So this is where we are missing the real sadhana. This is where we feel sometimes dry with the Vedanta, dry with the philosophies, dry with the sadhanas. Because the core emotion is not connected. Now what I conclude with this, then you can ask the clarification. Now we have discussed 3 points. One is cause and effect theory. The effect is nothing but cause. When we see the cause, we can say the effect is not created, because the effect is identified with the cause. When we talk about the cause, this is first point. The second point, when we talk about the cause, we talk about the ultimate cause. In that level, there is no difference between efficient cause and the material cause. The energy or material or what is the potential state of energy or kinetic state of energy or whatever level you talk about. In the ultimately, we are not seeing any difference. To prove that, we have to elaborate in a different level. We will, if it is needed, we will do later. And the third point we talk is, if we try to know anything beyond our normal grasping, we need to put our emotion there. The emotion of benefit. Benefit in the sense, emotion of interest. There the Vedanta says, this cause, it is not like the cause like atoms, jada. This is consciousness. You will get full knowledge. You will get full happiness. And ultimately, when we complete this point, the Vedanta says, this ultimate cause of this creation is your nature. You are the same person. That cause, ultimate cause, is reflected as you. The consciousness is as reflected as the cause. So here, now the most important for us is our own nature. Our own nature. What we are. And we love ourselves the most. It means we get the most happiness from ourselves. From where we get happiness, we love it. So the love is also connected. This is there in the Upanishads. So Satohi Maya Janma. So this is the theory of Acharya. So the creation. I said the first point. It means when we say there is no creation, it doesn't mean there is no existence. This we have to remember. Knowing the existence, we deny the creation. And that doesn't mean that you will not see the creation or perceive the creation. Because creation After knowing the reality of the creation, the reality goes away. Now the creation has no reality as such. But the seeing process is inherent because it is just a biological or physically it is happening. It has no connection with other things. Like mind has its own working, what the physiology, whatever say, and the body has its own physiology. So it is working like that. And you can't change anything in this because it's a physics. And in physics you can't change anything. You should be in the process of that. And in another level, we change it. So here, the two level of knowledge is also interconnected. So this way, the theory of Ajatavada, we can understand. You can explain it in a different way. It is a short and summarized form of explanation. If you want to ask anything, you can ask.
Yes. First, I think this is very concise and very beautiful to see the connection between the existence and creation, as you beautifully pointed out, and how existence is what is, and creation comes and goes and has no basis. The other thing I think which is very important, which I'm just clarifying, is that I think what you are saying is that until I have a tremendous seriousness to see that my current level of functioning is causing misery because of my limited perception, and therefore I have to invest my complete emotion in changing my perception to the reality, and inner seriousness is not there, it will remain only informative knowledge, I think. And so what is the only question, which may be a bigger topic also, is why is, when it is so clear that this is the state of true not only reality but bliss, and what I am now is a state of only temporary and therefore misery also, suffering, and yet we don't have the seriousness to go from here to there. And that seems to be the fundamental problem of human beings at large, even among seekers and definitely among others. So that is the question I am with. I think the way you explained Ajatavada is very clear. It is, but when I bring it to practical, I think that is the beautiful thing you brought out, is the need to bring it practical by realizing that it is my nature and I can be therefore in bliss. Why is that seriousness not there in someone when it is so clear? This seems to be a paradox.
You see, even though you got the information, the mere information cannot give any effect. That we all know that. The informative knowledge is just informative knowledge. And you see, when we go to take information, if you think about that, when we need that in our life, when we want to make something for us, for the sustainability of our life or the maintenance of life, anything connected to life itself, even eating food and stuff. Therefore, the mere information of Vedanta or this theory would not work unless You feel that this theory can solve my core problems. This theory is going to give me the full effect of that. One has this. There is nothing is needed to work on that. The seriousness is there, and only with this the seriousness can come. And you know that emotion is not created, seriousness is not created, and Shraddha is not created, love is not created, and the state of belief is also not created. You cannot make someone say, you believe. It is not created. All these emotions are connected to your own life, the sustainability of your life, the needs, the urgent and essential needs of your life. If you can connect those things to this theory, it is completed, and that is the sadhana. So we try to do that.